Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, debt slayers, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks, banker scum. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And let's go to Italy now. This is the second in a series of videos I'm doing about bank implosions and bail-ins in the Eurozone. And we have new developments in Italy right now, too, that involve some of the same characteristics that we see in these other bank implosions and bail-ins. In this case, Italy is pushing for a new bank rescue fund. Yeah, that's right. Just like with Austria in my previous video, we have all these extraordinary efforts by the ECB and all this stimulus and all this QE and all the buying up of all this crap and everything they can do to shore up the banks, and yet the banks are still imploding. And Italian banks lost half their value just this last year, and they have massive holes in their balance sheets. 360 billion euros in non-performing loans, and 180 billion more euros that are late but are not classified as non-performing loans quite yet. And so good luck dealing with this huge hole in one of the largest economies in the world, and this banking sector that's just rotting from the inside. And this new proposal, which apparently has been approved already, is going to try and follow the Spanish bad bank model, even though the Spanish bad bank model has failed, and it doesn't keep these bureaucrats from using some of the only tools that they know, even if they know that it's potentially going to fail. And so there's a couple of steps here. First, they want to create a fund to buy up all the shares. And a private vehicle with 5 billion euros, or only 2%. Think about that, 360 billion, potentially 500 billion dollars in non-performing loans, and they're going to scrape up 5 billion or 2% to try and address this problem. And this money is going to come from the banks and the insurers and the asset managers themselves in order to fund the buy-up of these shares. And also, as they're going to create a second vehicle to buy up the non-performing loans at actual market prices. So, but one of the things that's disturbing when they talk about setting up this private vehicle for buying up all these shares and buying up all these non-performing loans is they mention a quote larger debt component, unquote. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly they're after there. If they're only going to have 5 billion euros put up by the banks, insurers, and asset managers to try and save this bank, where is this larger debt component? The language is vague enough that I'm afraid something horrible is buried in that. But one analyst said, quote, "We worry that a bail-in of an Italian bank may cause a chain reaction with ripple effects felt across the European banking system, referring to the possibility of bondholders and depositors being forced to participate in a rescue," unquote. So that's a pretty sober picture of what exactly goes on here. In this case, they're trying desperately to avoid a bail-in, but it seems to me with coming up with only 2% in that massive hole, that at some point they're going to have to resort to bail-ins. The holes in these other banks I'm talking about are far smaller than this, and yet they're already resorting to bail-ins. But at least they realize the implications of doing these bail-ins, and if Italy does do bail-ins of further bank failure, then they can look at the repercussions of what's going on in Austria, as well as what's going on in Portugal. And there you have it, another bank in the Eurozone crumbling, and emergency measures being taken, and we'll see what happens. As I mentioned previously, there's a lot of talk because all the big bankers in Europe are all meeting with each other, and all the central banks are talking to each other, and all the bankers are talking to each other in the U.S. and having emergency meetings. So there could be something up, and all these time bombs going off all over in Europe certainly is symptomatic of that. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.